Madalena. The song ends exactly at the right time.
It did.
Good for you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, we thank Craig Taubman for his music and his rendition of one of the first verses in this book of Proverbs, which we have a hard time remembering because it was such a long time ago. Um, Maybe that's an answer to your point, your comment, your question last week, Les, that this guy needed a better editor. It could be that he just didn't remember what he wrote beforehand. And isn't that the story of our lives? Okay. Not a lot of people showing their faces today. I wonder if Richard perhaps hasn't put on his makeup yet. I get that. No, can't go. Oh, there I goaded him into it. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. Well, um, let's see. Well, this is the fulfillment of a promise or a comment that I made months ago about wanting to use Midrash Mishlei to try to get a feeling for how this particular Midrash, which I don't know a lot about, but I will know more about it as of tomorrow because I finally found a used copy that wasn't too exorbitant, but not too exorbitant. And I decided it's time to yeah. Anyway, I was waiting to find a cheaper copy. It never came, so I'll have the book tomorrow, I think. Amazon tells me, and I will be able to utilize the English translations therein, and but more importantly, to see the introduction and the comments of Professor Burton Wasatsky from JTS, a wonderful scholar of Midrash, who I don't know personally, but he's taught many of my friends and colleagues. What I did today, though, was to take the material from Midrash Mishlei. I skipped over some of it, which I think it didn't seem to be so pertinent. And I think it was, I'll explain in a second why there's a three dots in one place. Um, but I wanted to try to get a feeling for it. I'm not sure I totally understand all of it until now. The only help I had with the text itself was Shlomo Buber, who put out the edition 100 years ago, whenever it was, with some of his notes. They weren't entirely helpful, but so let's take a look at the text first from Proverbs, and then the sections from Mishlei. And there's relatively little from Midrash Mishlei, and that'll finish it up. And the next week we'll do the second half of Proverbs 20 without. This is just the first half with some other commentary or some other theme. Okay, so Les, you want to take us away with with this first section?
Here, wine is a scoffer, strong drink a roisterer. No one who is muddled by them will ever grow wise. The terror of a king is like the roar of a lion. Whoever provokes it forfeits life. It is honorable for a man to desist from strife, but every fool becomes embroiled. In winter, sluggards do not plow. At harvest time, they seek and find nothing. The designs in a person's mind are deep waters, but a man of understanding can draw them out. He calls many a man his loyal friend, but who can find a faithful man? The righteous live blamelessly. Happy are their children who come after them.
Okay, well, you get first shot if you'd like to say something or ask something.
Well, I looked up the words scoffer and roister. And scoffer says someone who mocks, ridicules, or scorns another person's beliefs or ideas, often in a disrespectful way. And roisterer is someone who enjoys noisy, lively, and perhaps even boisterous merrymaking or revelry.
Right.
They're often associated with a carefree and exuberant attitude, sometimes to the point of excess. It can also mean a bit of swagger or bluster in their behavior.
Yeah, these are two words that I often associate with Richard. Although it is hard to say roisterer. Also, I know that Richard likes his coffee, so that's connected to that as well. A coffee roisterer. So the words in Hebrew, lates, we've had quite a bit. Scoffer, we've had. Lates is a what my grandmother may have called a good for nothing. It's what she called the mayor of LA when we were taking a walk. We're at my mom's house now, and Sasha loves this story. We were my Bobby and I were taking a walk. She must have been in her 80s, I guess, by that time. And we're taking a walk around my mother's neighborhood. There's no sidewalks in my mother's neighborhood because that's the way it's zoned, whatever. I don't know. It's just, the street goes up to these big lawns and things and gardens. And she says, and there were cracks and it wasn't level. She says, the mayor, he's good for nothing. The mayor's lazy. That's why there's no sidewalks here, because the mayor is lazy. I love that the mayor was lazy. Oh, good for nothing. So that's a late. Late
There are no
son in modern
sidewalks in my
Hebrew.
neighborhood. I guess the Palm Springs mayor is lazy.
Yeah, they're all lazy,
They're all lazy.
except for the soon to be mayor of New York. Right, he's going to get things done there. Okay, and that's no comment to mine. I'm supportive. Uh, please don't read into it. So late son with the added nun at the end is a clown in modern Hebrew, and I don't know that it's in medieval Hebrew. I don't know if they knew about clowns, maybe, but a late son. But lehit lotzetz is to make fun of or to joke. Again in modern Hebrew, but Leitz is and in Talmudic Hebrew and also in Yiddish, perhaps people heard Moshav Leitzim. Moshav Leitzim is a Moshav Leitzim is the place where Leitzes gather, a gathering of scoffers. So like, the neighborhood bar would be a Moshav Leitzim. We used to say when we were younger in Israel, the young men who would uh, uh, harass women walking by who were sitting on the guard railings on the sidewalk, on the barzelim, on the irons, on the metal. That would be a moshav leitzim. That's how it was explained to me when I first moved to Israel in the Talmud. But here it's not about people. That's the interesting thing here, Les. Here it's talking about wine. Wine is whatever word you want to use. Wine is as a good for nothing, and strong drink, or some translate here beer, is rowdy. What Fox's translation is here. The second half is beer is rowdy. In other words, anthropomorphizing these drinks because that's what they do to people, and then in order to say that anybody who gets involved with them, anybody who makes the mistake, shogeh, errs in being involved with them, that person is never going to grow wise.
But the word muddled implies that they're above 0.08. So a little bit of drink is okay.
Yeah.
And what's the Hebrew word there for that is translated as muddled?
So it is the whole shogebo. It's a little bit different. Anybody who errs, and then you have to involve errs in them, meaning anybody who makes the mistake of getting involved with them, that person will not grow wise. So muddled here is a generous translation. Let me just see what Fox translates there. I didn't make note of.
So the writer of this proverb verse was a teetotaler.
Or that, or I don't know that there were teetotalers. The truth is, I think the problem was people who overdid. And no one who goes astray in them. No one who goes astray in them. Yeah, that's far more literal than muddled by them. Or more literal. I don't know if it's far more literal.
But it implies going overboard.
Yeah. Implies making them your friends. And that's probably the point of anthropomorphizing the drink as well. Right? Don't make them your friends. My friend this is my friend, my bottle of whiskey. Okay. All right. And speaking of whiskey, really good whiskeys, I discovered a new store that all of us have seen. All of us that live in Palm Springs and drive from LA or from anywhere westward and enter on the 111. You know that store Mirage Liquor on the right-hand side, very close to your house, Richard?
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, so I recently met the owner. He's a Syrian Christian who's been here for, I think, he told me 10 years, from the area of Homs, which was devastated during the time of Assad. And we talked quite a bit anyway. So we stopped by yesterday to get something for my mother's house, and he has an amazing selection of Scotch single malts and bourbon and rye. A separate room just for wine. Very impressive. Have you ever stopped in there, Richard?
Oh yeah, many times. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
they used to have a deli in there.
Yeah, yeah.
Was that one damaged? Was that damaged by the bomb? It's very
No,
cool.
this is at the very
No.
beginning of 111.
Oh,
It's right when you come in. I always drive by and I'm thinking to myself, well, he's got a corner on the market on the weekend party market. All the people that come in from LA, they stop. Well, we got to get a few bottles before we go to our.
all the scoffers and roisterers. Yeah.
Indeed. I should show him this. The truth is, I brought him. I don't know if anybody here gets the print edition of New York Times Sunday. They had a special section of photojournalism on Syria. Boy, talk about a country in rubble. Okay, apropos possible peace treaty, who knows? Inshallah, as we say in the yeshiva, inshallah. Okay, what else do we got in this section? Any other comments or questions? We have this phrase that it probably appears in every culture around the world in different words. In winter, sluggards do not plow. At harvest time, they seek and find nothing. That sounds like something from every culture. I don't have one handy, but it sounds like any. What's the second half of the early bird gets the worm? Is there a second half to that? No, this would be the second half. Yeah. A little bit reminiscent. No, it's a song. It's not that reminiscent. Never mind. Anything else?
It's interesting about the designs of the mind or of understanding can draw them out. I'm sorry, the designs of a person's mind are deep waters, but a man of understanding can draw them out, sort of like a psychiatrist.
That's what it sounds like, right? I don't think he knew that. I think the reference here is to the person pondering his own mind. And it's beautiful imagery here, right? This idea, this deep water. But Megan, here's another thing we have all these great phrases you can have embroidered. Like Sasha's working on her embroidery right now. So Sasha can embroider this for the wall, for your therapy room if you've got one still, if you're still doing that. Or it could be on your card, on your business card. Yeah. I'll take, or Bar will take just a small percentage of any work generated. So yes, I mean, this would be great for a therapist, Les, but I think the intention here is one's own exploration of one's own deep waters of one's own mind. The third line from the bottom in Hebrew, V'ish emunim, a faithful man. You may know the word emunah, belief or faith. Imun is trust in somebody. Amen. The word amen comes from that. Yes, indeed, trust. And ish emunim is used in modern Hebrew as somebody who's loyal to someone else, especially like in politics. The ish emunim, every politician has his devoted foot soldiers, kind of a thing. Okay. All right. So going back to the third line, Naham kakfir emat melech, the terror of a king. It's the syntax in Hebrew is the syntax of Proverbs is totally all over the place in Hebrew, and it's brought into a more logical format in English. The terror of a king. It really is the roar of a lion is the terror of the king, or we would add like the terror of a king. No, Naham Kakvir, no, it is actually like Naham Kakvir. So the word Naham is roar. And this brings us to some comments about, that's the second section. The first section we're going back to this idea of what is wine and how do you describe wine in strong drink. So why don't you read the first section, which is interpreting the first verse.
Wine is a scoffer, strong drink a roisterer. Rabbi Zira said, these are words of Torah that are likened to wine, as it is said in Proverbs. Come, eat my food, drink my wine that I have mixed. And anyone who jokes about the words of Torah is called a scoffer.
Okay, so let's see. This is taking this verse absolutely out of context, which of course Midrash often does, and turning it into something, a lesson. Rabbi Zera wants to teach something very different, at least according to the way. So the editor of this work called Midrash Mishlei, the Midrash of Proverbs, has used this tradition from Rabbi Zera to, and there's just these words here, to comment. That's what he remembers. He says, oh, I see this line, this is what I think of. Very associative here. And so he says, what is wine? Wine is likened to the words of Torah. Torah is likened to wine because it says in another part of Proverbs, right? Part we've already done, come eat my food and drink the wine that I have mixed. How do you come drink the wine that I have mixed? How do you get that from Torah? My guess, or my informed guess, I would call it, is it says mixed is masachti, lenasech maim, linsoch, lasuch, linsoch, linsoch. Well, linsoch maim means to, yeah, but also is to pour out. Yeah, linsoch maim is to mix the wine with water. I think it's a play on words with masachti, the wine that I've mixed, that I prepared for you, with the word masechet, which is collection of traditions, of oral traditions. We use the word, the translation is tractate, like a Talmudic tractate, a volume of the Talmud is a masechet. I think to me, and I'm waiting to check Wysotsky's translation to see if, I'm pretty sure. Buber doesn't say anything about it in his very sparse commentary. But that's what I think that means. And then he wants to get to the second part, which is anybody who jokes about the words of Torah, and that's the word I use, mitlotzetz, he himself is called a scoffer. And he's bad. So it's taking this verse totally out of context and mashing up in such a way that it's not even like this verse is an allegory for this, or a metaphor for this. It really just kind of picks different pieces and brings something totally different. So one of the questions I would say, and since we haven't been doing Midrash Mishlei very sporadically, is this something typical to this particular Midrash? Does he just bring something, he says associatively, like the stream of consciousness, oh, that's wine, that's this, and I'm going to say this. I don't know. Let's go on.
Maybe he'd been drinking too much wine. Okay. Wine is a scoffer, strong drink a roisterer. No one who is muddled by them will ever grow wise. Rabbi Yochanan said, all kinds of intoxicants enhance one's dreams, except wine. Why? If it is merited, it makes one happy, and if it is not, it makes one sad.
Now the proof text.
It makes one happy, as it is written in Psalms, wine makes one's heart glad. It makes one sad, it is written, no one who is muddled by it will ever grow wise.
All right, so how is that exactly connected to dreams? I'm not sure. I guess because you drink wine and you fall asleep, and what kind of dreams will you have? I don't know if medically speaking that's the case, but it seems to be, I think, anecdotally that, or scientifically, I should say, I suppose medically, anecdotally, the people that do drink, as opposed to not drinking, have different kinds of dreams at night, or certainly sleep bad. I know that I don't sleep well if I've had too much. I don't know, Richard, what's your experience with drinking, dreams after drinking?
I don't drink enough to when I did drink a lot, I was like 50, 60 years ago. So I have no experience to speak of.
Okay.
I mean, at most I'll have a cocktail or a glass of wine and doesn't, not enough to affect my dreams. I think.
Okay. And would you like to tell us about your dreams?
Well, I have two kinds of dreams, ones that are very disturbing and ones that are very enjoyable. And I try and convince myself every night when I go to sleep to have an enjoyable dream and not one that's stressful.
There you go. You're reaching down into your inner waters, your deep waters.
Yeah. So sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Okay. Positive thinking. So why don't you read the next section for us? This is on the second verse. The terror of the king is the roar of the lion.
The terror of a king is like the roar of a lion. Whoever provokes it forfeits life. Rabbi Yehuda ben Rabbi Simon said, in the same way that thunder goes forth in the world, it shakes heard in the whole world, and the more so when the vengeance of the praised Holy One goes out into the world, as it is written. Another interpretation, like the roar of a lion. Rabbi Hama bar Hananiah Hanani said, just as this lion roars with his voice, a person who hears his voice is afraid, all the more so, the roar of the holy praised one.
Okay. So let's break it down. The first section, I often don't know what the best translation is, so that's when I do a slash, as many of you know. So the in the same way that when thunder is heard when thunder happens, right? When lightning and thunder, that sound of lightning is either heard in the whole world or it shakes the whole world. I think the word can be translated in both ways. Literally, it's heard in the whole world, but I suspect it might be shakes. Similar, of course, right? And so if that's thunder, which is created by God, all the more so the vengeance of God goes out into the world. And how do we know this? Oh, now did I leave something out as it is written? I wonder if yeah, you know what? Hold on.
Yes.
Not
Maybe
my,
that's why I had difficulty reading it.
I'm sorry?
Maybe that's why I had difficulty reading it, because it didn't seem to make sense to me as I was reading it.
Um, hmm.
Aside from the difficult names to pronounce.
Oh, okay. That's just left over from the section that I skipped. So that last part. So the last part as it is written shouldn't be there. And then I skipped quite a few lines to bring us this part. Where
Another interpretation.
yeah. Yeah, and then this whole section goes on. There's a number of another interpretations, but most of them didn't. Some that I couldn't even understand. That could be the text that Buber used is not a great text. He sometimes gives corrections to the text from a different manuscript, and I know that Wysocki's translations was done from another manuscript, which he probably had access to more. And sometimes these things just get garbled. The tradition of being copied over. Anyway. Let's go ahead and do the second one. Oh,
Okay.
oh, did you read it? Yeah, go ahead.
Rabbi Levi said, 7 names were given to the lion, and they are Arn, Kafur, Lavi, Lish, Shahai, and Shalhaz. Ari, as it means that everyone is afraid of him.
Okay, so let me just perhaps I'll take this one because there's play on words. So Ari, which is a common one of the more common names for lion, Ari is very close to the word mityare. See the A-R-I-A-R-R kind of a thing. So, okay, this is not working. Could you just ask them to go in and close the door? Thanks. Visiting nurse, I think, or therapist. So Ari sounds like there's a word, a play on words with mityare. He's called Ari because people are scared of him. Ari mityare. Kfir is that everybody sees him loses his life because it sounds like, or what you're kfir is like kofer b'chayav. That's an interest. That's the best translation I can come up with for kofer b'chayav that makes sense in this context. Kofer b'chayav is well, it's maybe it's kind of it is literally denies one's life. So Lavi, he snatches the hearts of people. Shechotef levavot b'nei adam. Lavi levavot. He snatches the hearts, levavot, hearts. Laish, it should be Laish, not Leash, I think. That the flesh of people is as there is nothing in his teeth. This is a really interesting one. The flesh is in other words, he can tear through the flesh of a human being, and this is based on a wordplay. The Hebrew here is kilo yesh b'shenav. The skin of flesh of a human is as if it is not. Kilo yesh. It is if it is not. Kilo yesh. Lish. Laish. Shachal, that everything crawls away from him. Shochel is a verb. That one actually is an easier one. Not that he himself crawls, but everybody crawls away from him. And a shechatz or a shachatz, that he shreds with his teeth. Mashchitz b'shenav, shreds with his teeth. And all this is brought, this tradition from Rabbi Levi, because the word kfir, lion, appears here. So I guess what I wanted to say with this is that it feels like at least in this section of Midrash Mishlei, I want to make note of this as we continue. I'll try to bring more of it as we go on to the end of the book of Proverbs. Is that it's just kind of random thoughts, stream of conscious. Oh, it's very much like when I'm teaching, when I'm talking, I suddenly bring something that's really not connected, but my mind went there, and it's too good not to share with you. I guess that's his feeling as well. Okay. And besides, Richard wants to know. Richard loves animals and really does want to know about the different names of lions and why they're called that way. Okay.
Great names for pets. These names.
Yeah, indeed.
Shakaz. My next dog, I'm gonna name Shakaz. Shakaz. So no one will be able to pronounce it.
Okay. Megan, you want to read 8 to 11 for us, please?
Okay. The king seated on the throne of judgment can winnow out all evil by his glance. Who can say, I have cleansed my heart, I am purged of my sin? False weights and false measures, both are an abomination to God. Children may be dissembling in their behavior, even though their actions are blameless and proper.
Feels like random statements and could very well be. I guess to me it was the idea that I can see it's connected to the king. Maybe these are sections that begin with something to do with the king, like the previous section did, Emat Melech. Yeah, after the previous section and after the second verse. I don't know. Anyway, it seemed like a good place to bring them together. I forgot why. And the next section is it talks about body parts, as we've had a number of times. The theme of a section feels like it has a lot of body parts in it. But for this section, though, any comments or questions about the text itself?
Do you think the writer is talking about a political or ruling king, or a reference to God?
Yeah, I thought of that as well. I think that it's talking about a regular king. in the same way that beforehand he was talking about Elohim, because when he wants to say God, he says God. He doesn't seem to need that. And we've had the balance throughout the book of theologically influenced wisdom and pure secular wisdom. So that's why I think that I would think it's a regular king, little K king.
But often the Midrash makes the jump from king to God.
Absolutely. Often in fact, when I was preparing, which of course, because since we came to my mom's, is nowhere, it's not near the amount that I would like to. I spent so much time in the translation here. Yesterday, the day before, translating the rabbinic text. I'm kind of out of practice. But at least it feels like I used to be able to do it quicker. Um, so one of the things I thought about in going over the text this morning, and had I had time, I would look to see exactly that would be either rabbinic literature or medieval rabbinic commentary would absolutely say something like that, as you said. Yeah, would connect it with God. But do we have here? We will have in the Midrash. We do have it. God plays a part in this as well, and not including this verse. I think no, it's for the second verse 9. Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, I'm weights and measures. Is it doesn't that come up? Hasn't that come up in previous?
In the Torah, at first it came up in Proverbs already, but it's
Right.
also explicitly in the Torah. That's considered to be one of those evil things where I'm pretty sure it says at the end of the paragraph, Ani Adonai Elohechem, I am the Lord your God, which I learned is, at least when that comes up, more often than not, it means when a law ends with, and I am indeed the Lord your God, are things that you can get away with in secret, but to tell you that God's watching. False weights were like, I think, that's a common thing, common way of gypping people, right? Kind of like emails, yeah.
But so it also would say to me, since it's repeated, so does that make it more important?
It means that it was out there. More important in that I think it was prevalent. That's my impression. It's repeated a lot because it's common. Yeah. I like the second line of the first verse. The fact that a judge can see with his eyes and be able to tell. I think that's reading body language. I can tell when you're lying, that kind of a thing. You have what is it called? You have a sign. What's it called when you touch your face or something?
Tell.
Tell,
A
A
tell.
tell.
Have a tell. Yeah.
Judge Judy would agree.
Which okay, I don't think I've ever watched it. But the one who was before, who was the guy? Who was the
The one that donated the Jewish camp in Simi Valley?
Yeah, I know his son,
I don't remember the name.
Judge Wapner.
Wapner.
Wapner. So David Wapner is a friend of ours from Jerusalem. Yeah, his son, who's a few years older than I am, same generation. David and Edna Wapner. Our kids went to school together. Very, very nice fellow.
It
Yeah.
used to be called Brandeis Camp. Is it still called Brandeis?
N-
Brandeis Bar Down? Or
well,
something?
because it's owned now by the AJU, I don't know what they've done with the names. The American Jewish University bought bought that campus, and a few years ago. And in the meantime, they sold their campus in Mulholland for over $60 million to the Milken School. I was just up there a few weeks ago for a conversion Beit Din and mikveh. The mikveh is still there. It's hard to move a mikveh, apparently. Okay. So Eileen, you want to give this a try from Midrash Mishlei?
Sure.
It
Who
should
can
read
say-
it should read 29, not 22. Just for the sticklers out there.
Who can say, I have cleansed my heart, I am purged of my sin? May the name of the Blessed One, blessed be he, be praised forever and ever, whose purity and holiness are his, and he tests hearts and kidneys and purifies Israel.
Okay, so we're gonna just stop here for a second. The first thing he thinks of is the guy who's who's editing this book, this book of Midrashic traditions, is the fact that the words "my heart," cleanse my heart, zachiti libi, lev is heart, and he first starts with the fact that the reason nobody can say they did it themselves, because who is the one who cleanses hearts, who tests hearts and purifies Israel? That's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the Holy One. So it's kind of like what he's saying is that nobody can say that themselves, because that's God. God does that, not human beings. But we're going to see some pushback now.
Why do you think he adds kidneys? Just curious.
Oh, because that's in biblical text. That's part. God is bochen klayot. And why kidneys of all things? Livers and kidneys and hearts were used by the I don't want to call them magicians, the priests in Mesopotamia, and maybe throughout all of the ancient Near East, but to they would slice open a kidney or a liver or something, and they would read the waves of the tissue, like palm reading, like coffee grounds kind of a thing. So I don't know what came first, but I think the idea is that, it's like God knows what's in your kishkis. Klayot, I think that for them is people feel there's something going on there, right? What is it? I don't know physiologically why it is that we feel certain things in our kishkis other than when we don't eat well or we have something wrong with it, but why something psychologically triggers a feeling that we, at least in our brain, tells us it's happening down here or or here, why that happens. You could explain to us less, but that's why it says that hearts and kidneys are the inner things, that's where we feel, that's where we think. They don't know yet about minds as far as the brain and brain tissue.
How about spleen?
A spleen is what is a spleen? Tchol. Tchol is a spleen, and I don't remember if tchol comes up in the biblical language. A lot of these are in like Psalms and poetic in biblical poetry. Tchol. I seem to remember something that could be. You know what else they come up like in high holiday liturgy? Most of the stuff that we skip over, but some of the hymns that there's one that we do, which is a Mizrahi or a Sephardic hymn, Adon aslichot bochei nevavot. That one, which are two word things, that God does this to a very often part of the body. So there it's bochei nevavot. God can tell what's in people's hearts. Yeah.
I knew kidneys had something. I just looked it up. And in Hebrew tradition, kidneys were considered to be the most important internal organs along with the heart. In the Old Testament, most frequently, the kidneys are associated with the most inner stirrings of emotional life.
So I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So Jewish mothers want their physician kids to become cardiologists or nephrologists.
Yeah, either that or to eat. What are those? What do you call those kinds of meats when people eat them?
Awful, awful,
Awful.
awful. OFFEL.
It sounds awful to me.
Haggis.
Yeah. Okay. All right then. Well, good. Yeah, absolutely, Megan. I think, and it comes from the fact I think that we feel those things.
Yeah.
Or we think we're feeling that. Yeah. How they knew, are kidneys more important than other things? I mean, what else? What else did they find in there, Les? They could find kidneys and livers, and what else would they see? Would they spleens? I guess they would see, right? They could discern.
Well, or the digestive tract, the stomach. But
Yeah.
but that's a long track. But spleen and liver and kidneys are discrete organs, and are regularly eaten. I mean, spleen is in some cases sweetbreads, and some.
Right. That's what I was looking for. That word sweetbreads. Yeah. Yeah.
That's thymus usually.
That sounds splendid to me. Okay. All right. So who's reading? You want
I
to give
am.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Solomon said, my father David said before the Blessed One, Lord of the universe, fashion a pure heart, O God, fashion a pure heart for me, O God, create in a steadfast spirit. But he asked in the wrong way, and since he knew that he had asked in a wrong way, he repeated, wash me thoroughly of my iniquity and purify me of my sin. What did the Holy Spirit answer him? It is said to him, David, since you have humbled yourself by asking the question you have asked, I will give you a clean heart. The Holy Spirit also said to him about this, God will seek out a man with a more willing heart, and God will appoint him ruler over this covenanted people.
So what the tradition, the Midrashic tradition is done, which is not quoted in somebody's name here. Does it mean that perhaps the author of this, the editor of this Midrash created himself? Something we'll have to learn from Professor Vysotsky. But what he's basing his comments are is the word lev, which is why I've put it in brackets here. A clean heart lev and a willing heart kilvavo. And projecting it onto the story of David and his son Solomon. David being assumed to be the author of Psalms by the rabbis, and Solomon being the author of wisdom literature. And so Solomon being able to learn from his father, or learn what to do and what perhaps what not to do. Yeah, this verse that he quotes here, we did it recently. I don't remember what context. Lev tahor bara li Elohim. It's from Psalms 51. I add it sometimes to the liturgy for high holidays or slichot. I'm actually going to use it tomorrow. I'm speaking to a group of therapists, Riverside County behavioral professionals. I don't know if that's a word, but people in the behavioral, yeah, therapists and social workers. There's some gathering tomorrow online I've been asked to speak at. And I'm going to use that psalm, this idea that we're asking God to fashion us a pure heart, and yet what the Midrash understands is, well, there is no such thing as an absolutely pure heart, right? I think that's kind of what's in the background here. Because learn from this verse, who can say I've cleansed my heart, or I am purged of my sin? It's just not possible to be totally purged of sin, and certainly that one is not cleansed one's heart oneself, rather that it's the Holy One that does that. Any comments or questions or a different reading? I realize the English doesn't read well here. I'm sorry. It's the fact that it's the first version, unedited version of my translation. So why don't we try the second paragraph, Eileen?
Since Solomon saw that David had humbled himself, he too said, who can say, I have earned my heart, I have cleansed myself from sin? What was the reward for that? And Solomon sat on the throne of the Lord as king. Has there been a person who has sat on the throne as Solomon ruled over the entire world? As it is said, for he controlled the whole region west of the Euphrates, all the kings west of the Euphrates, from Tiphsah to Gaza, and he had peace on all of his borders round about. But are not Tiphsah and Gaza adjacent to each other? As a person goes from Tiphsah and goes east, and goes from east to west, and west and east to north, then from north to south, encompassing and ascending until he arrives at Gaza. So did Solomon go and rule and encompass the entire world from beginning to end.
Let's just talk about that for a second, okay? It's a little strange, right? Like, of all the verses, I don't know where Tifsach was, but what the rabbinic understand, we know where Gaza was, but it's kind of as saying, he ruled all the world from Cathedral City to Palm Springs. And so we said, but aren't they next to each other? Well, it depends. If he goes from Cathedral City to New York, and then from New York to Newfoundland, and then
Right.
Newfoundland to Alaska and then down, that's a different way of looking at it. I think that's what's
That's why
going,
the Israelis invented Waze.
right, exactly, right. You know the thing with Waze, right? I don't know how it is now, but during all our visits during the war, I've recently been staying at a hotel which is in the Azrieli Center when I'm there on my own. And it's very close to the Kiryat, the military headquarters in that part of Tel Aviv. And when you look at Waze there, it shows you're in Beirut because they've got the whole thing mixing for blood. That was during the war with Hezbollah. Maybe it's back to normal now, but they were able to really screw up all the GPS things, whatever, however that happens. Satellites jam the satellites, but it was kind of funny to, you see, I put in, how long will it take me to get to my daughter's house, by walking, which should have been like 25 minutes, whatever. It would have taken 4 days and 3 nights. Okay. Anyway, so I think that's what this is about, which doesn't have a lot to do with what came beforehand, right? It's just now it's a comment on Solomon, and it's not so much a comment how Solomon was such a good guy, but that he was so powerful. And how do we know so powerful? How he's so successful? Then it brings us this very roundabout, literally roundabout way of explaining it. So an interesting midrash to say the least. I don't know what more to make of it. And the final paragraph.
Rabbi Yosef of Galilee said, "Why did Solomon deserve so much? Because he was not arrogant of mind and heart before God. And if Solomon, the father of wisdom and the father of prophecy, who ruled from one end of the world to the other, humbled himself in such a way, how much more so are we, the rest of humanity?"
Are we, comma, the rest of humanity? Yeah, and I guess that is the point. He went on, it feels like, so that he could make this point now, the point by Rabbi Yossi Aglidi, to say that, and well, I don't have to make the point again. He says what he says.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, I had the extra space after this is all there is in Midrash Mishlei for chapter 20. I kept seeing other chapters like that. I said, well, I'm going to wait till we have a chapter with Lot, but we're going to be done at some point. I want to get in. I still want to make use of this for my own benefit as well, to look at this midrashic work that I've never studied before. So because I had room on the page, I added these few verses, and we can do them now, but we'll probably go back and begin with them next week, depending on what kind of interesting commentary I find. Madalena, are you with us? Do you want to read?
I am, yes.
Please, 12 to 16.
Oh, 1 second.
And how are things in Spain?
The ear,
Do we just want
sorry,
to tell everybody how
can
you're
you hear
doing?
me?
Yes,
The
do
ear that,
you want to tell us how you're doing in Spain?
oh, I'm good. I'm good.
How's the weather?
It's been really hot, not as warm as Palm Springs. And now it's foggy and rainy, but it's still warm.
Okay.
So, the ear that hears, the eye that sees, God made them both. Do not love sleep, lest you be impoverished. Keep your eyes open, and you will have plenty of food. Bad, bad, says the buyer, then goes away in self-congratulation. Gold is plentiful, jewels abundant, but wise speech is a precious subject. Size his garment, for he stood surety for another. Take it as a pledge, for he stood surety for an unfamiliar woman.
Hey, so that is a lot to unwind here, which I think we're going to keep for the next time. But I just did want to say that this is an interesting section of where the first two couplets are definitely, I feel, definitely connected to each other. They're part of the same idea, the same thought, right? When you're sleeping, you can't hear or you can't see. Yeah. And they're connected to the above as well, in that God, at least the rabbinic understanding, God, who can say I've cleansed my heart or that I'm purged from sin? We can't, because those are, at least in the rabbinic understanding, that can only be done by God. So here too, recognizing. As far as the last part is concerned, I'm going to have to prepare a bit to understand that better, I think.
Wait 5 minutes.
Okay, so I think we're going to call it a day unless somebody has anything else to say today. Okay, well, may it be a joyful and a safe and hopefully fire-free July 4th. And as we celebrate July 4th, may we also remember the same way that we take some wine out of our cups when we talk about the 10 plagues, because even in our time of joy, we want to remember the difficult parts of this nation's history, not to mention its contemporary state, but the difficult issues of what it means to declare July 4th as a day for everybody to celebrate, when so many people for so many of those years were unable to celebrate. Okay. We're not meeting for Friday night or Shabbat morning this week. Sasha and I are taking off for that. We're staying in Palm Springs, but we're going to take a break from Tefillah, and I'll see everybody here back next Wednesday. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Madalena.
Thank you.